two brains. What do we mean? Well, this is a little bit of an oversimplification, but it's not in terms of the function of how your brain works. You have what's called the lower brain, or the more primitive brain, or the, some people think in the timeline, the earlier brain, or the mammalian brain, or any of that stuff. And basically, this is the part of you that assesses danger and prepares for danger and reacts to danger, and basically is everything and all about keeping you safe. That's what that lower brain does. Think of it as, um, what would be a good way to think about it? It's sort of like the alarm system. Uh, you've got to know that if something is dangerous, like think about a smoke alarm in your house, right, or a car alarm, or any stuff like that. That if there's danger somewhere or smoke, it smells it, it starts to go off, right? Well, that's what this part of your brain does. It's an alarm system, and like all alarm systems, it can be set like you want it to be set. It can be set too low, or it can be set too high. In other words, have you ever had a smoke alarm in your house, and just for 5 seconds, you're frying bacon or something, and a little smoke goes up, and all of a sudden the fire trucks are out in front of your house? Well, it's a little bit on overreach, right? It's getting excited and amped up when it doesn't really need to. Well, our alarm system can be like this, and what happens is, this is in a normal brain. What happens in this is, when it lights up, you have another part of your brain that is able to think. See, this part doesn't think. It just reacts. These are the instant emotional reactions you get. Maybe fear, maybe pain, maybe hurt, maybe anger, whatever. But when something really triggers that response, right? But then we got another part of our brain that actually evaluates and measures and plans and tells us what we need to do next, right? So think of it this way. All of us have the experience. You're lying in bed at night, and all of a sudden you wake up to your car alarm. It's going off in the middle of the night, and you wake up and you're startled, right? Oh no, I'm getting robbed. And then you hear the trash truck going down, and you know that, oh, I know what happened. The trash truck made a lot of vibration on the road, and that shook the car alarm. The car alarm went off. It'll go off in a second. I'm going back to sleep. And so your thinking part of your brain, begins to sort of tell the other side, false alarm, false alarm. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Nothing bad's going to happen. So that's your two brains. You've got a rational one, an objective one, weighs evidence, makes decisions. What's the word I'm looking for? It releases, I guess, resources, different actions and all of that, depending on what's needed. Or it kind of calms you down. Those are your two brains. Everybody has these two brains. If I walked up to you in the hall and went, wah, like that, and I scared you, and then you'd look at me and go, oh, you're just kidding, and then you'd calm back down. Unless, what if you have had a lot of hurt? Or what if you have had trauma, or hurt, or woundedness, or abandonment, or many other things like that have never been healed, that have never been processed? Well, very complicated brain functions, but when you go through trauma like that, there's so much cortisol and all these hormones, adrenaline, all this kind of stuff when you're under siege that get released. That one of the things I think is that can even take that memory and that experience, and sort of like when you're ironing. Have you ever been ironing and you got a white shirt and there's a you spill something and you iron it, it gets stained on the shirt and it becomes glued to it. Well, some traumatic experiences kind of get glued to that part of the brain, and that part of the brain is not connected to the other part that tells you no big deal, it's in the past, it's over, it's not happening now, and it gets activated, and it kind of stays on high alert. It's always kind of going, bzzz, and then something triggers it, and boom, now, because that part of the brain is not connected to time, your brain thinks, I'm being abused now. I'm being attacked now. I'm being abandoned now. I'm being, overpowered now. And you go into react mode. And this is why you see people lose it sometimes and start screaming at their spouse or the kids or whoever, or say, I'm out of here. And make, I start to say decisions. They do actions that are really not in their best interest, but they're reacting, but they're not reacting to the current situation. So, to some degree, that's all of us. The lay term for this is we have an overreaction, right? I'm too hypersensitive or you're too oversensitive. Now that those words can be used actually to gaslight somebody and make them bad for feeling that way, or they can be used accurately in that I am having an overreaction to what's actually going on today, but my brain is appropriately reacting to what happened to me however long ago. And by the way, don't think just because time has passed, it's going to take care of this. And it is accurate. Your brain's doing what it's supposed to do. So here's the little tip that I want you to have. Now, if you've got trauma, you know that you need to, it's very important to see a good trauma-informed therapist who knows how to treat that. There are some kinds of therapy that people use normally that make trauma worse, for example, and can, kind of glue it into your head even more. There's other kinds of trauma-informed therapy that really, really, really do help that. A few of the things that are involved is that most times when people are traumatized, they are paralyzed. They're literally, they might be held down and beaten or raped or, you know, held captive or something, and they literally can't move and they're frozen. The reaction can freeze us. And there's a lot of research to show that in the therapy, when that state is activated, it's very important for patients to have some sort of movement because that retrains the brain. I can move, I can protect myself, I can walk, I can, and so there's a number of things like that help. But here's the deal. One of the things that is very important if you're able to do it, if you're not too traumatized, okay, or to the degree that you can do it, is to try to keep both sides of the brain engaged and make some decisions, not gaslighting your reactions, but respecting your reactions. And so if you get triggered, and it could be your spouse says something to you that they didn't even mean and it's hurtful or anything like that, but it hits one of those buttons. It could be a scene in a movie. It could be a conversation with somebody. But it hits one of those buttons, and all of a sudden you're learning to recognize and name those feelings. I'm really angry right now. I feel like you're putting me down. I feel like I'm bad. I feel like you hate me. I feel like there's no hope. I feel like I'm going to be left. All this stuff starts going. Learn to recognize those and observe them, but use the other parts of your brain if possible to say, I'm going to give respect to these and I'm not going to act on them in the current situation. I'm going to go take a time out. I'm going to go talk to somebody that makes me feel safe. I'm going to process this, but don't make decisions based on it. Don't make decisions based on it or actions. Give it its space. Go away and sit somewhere. Talk to somebody. Have a friend or therapist that you can call and touch base with. And then that'll help calm it down. So, what am I saying? Basically, the simple way to look at this is when you're feeling amped up, hold your tongue. Don't strike back at somebody that's not striking, even though it feels like they are. Hold your tongue. Keep your car keys in your pocket. We fight or flight. Sometimes people, kind of throw a tantrum and run out of the house and all sorts of stuff. So give yourself a little space. Go sit down. Kind of process it. Calm down. Because your system isn't automatically calming down. We need to make space and safety. Safety, safety. Having somebody hold your hand that loves you or that you can talk to. All of that will help. Okay, so you got two brains. Take care of them. You need both of them. You need both of them.